Pixel 10 Pro is, of course, Google's latest flagship phone, designed to compete directly with Apple and Samsung and their flagship phones. Now, as I mentioned in my unboxing video, which you can watch up here if you'd like to, in first impressions, I was hoping that this phone would do what Johnny Ive always used to say about the hope of iPhone, which was that experience is hardware and software working harmoniously together. Outside of iPhone, I haven't seen that on a phone before, and to my maybe not surprise, this phone I think has achieved that. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why this phone has been in my main pocket over my beloved iPhone for the past week. And you have to see this. The 100 times zoom on the telephoto lens is kind of insane, and we'll show that near the end of the video. So let's dive in. And as always, let's start with the form. Build quality here is, in my opinion, even better than the iPhone 16 Pro. I love these shiny aluminum bezels here. This frosted glass look here on the back is also so nice, and the overall just look and feel in the hand is so premium. It's really hard to explain on camera and show on camera, but the way these bezels, these side rails I should say, blend into the glass on the front and the back is such a nice hand feel. And because it's a glossy metal look, it kind of is a little sticky in your hand, which I really love, while remaining smooth on the back there. You have quite thin bezels that go around the phone, which is nice as well. And everything from, I don't know, just the look of the UI and how that looks against the actual hardware is just a fantastic experience. And it's that experience of the hardware and software working together that really makes this phone shine. I've gone with a pretty minimal layout, as you can see here. I've got sort of just the main apps that I use, and then all of my sort of apps that I use for here during work. And then of course you have all of your other apps down here. I went with the themed kind of look for a while, but I actually just really liked the way that these colors popped on this black background here. And I love just the minimal clock up here with the date, and then you do get those little interesting widgets here that kind of change over time depending on your day. Something that I know MKBHD mentioned is in his video with the new operating system here is there seems to be larger things, right? Larger widgets, everything just kind of blown up. There's more blank space around things, and he felt that it could be more condensed. I remember when I was in college, my buddy read a book called White Space Is Not Your Enemy. It was about design and web design and things like that. I never actually read it, but that headline, that title of the book has always stayed with me. And when I used to design websites, I found a real love for the simplicity of putting the subject of whatever you're doing with plenty of border around it, if that makes sense. So giving it a lot of white space because it's not your enemy. And I think in a lot of ways it shines on the actual subject. So instead of having a screen here that's just full of data and is cluttered and ugly, looking at weather app here, which is something Marquez spoke of specifically, I like the spacing here. I like that things have room to breathe, that things are a little bit bigger, more minimal. I really do like that look. And that maybe is a personal preference, but I do think because they've designed these things this way, maybe it's a more general and objective opinion as well. But seriously, the hardware is beautiful. I love the visor. I'm a huge fan of this. There's no screen wobble at all on the desk, or there's no wobble, whatever you call it, tap wobble, because it's just like a little propped up stand, basically. I mentioned in my unboxing, I kind of wish they could move the camera module to the middle of the visor and maybe move one of these two modules here to the other side, but I understand with the telephoto lens, it has to have space to the side of it to make full use of that, which again, we're gonna show some of that telephoto imagery off here in a minute. I'm just a huge fan of the design of this device. And I think because it's something that you keep on you every day, it's always in your hand, it's always in your pocket, the experience of using it matters so much. And I think Google has nailed it here. Right, now let's talk about the function. Obviously with a smartphone, there's a butt ton of function, and I don't know that I'm gonna get through everything you probably have questions about, but I did wanna just kind of give my experience from the functionality that's here. So I think Android OS has come a long way, and I mentioned in my first impression and unboxing video as well, I think because Google owns Android, they're able to design their hardware around their software and their software to better fit their hardware. And I think that's true here. Everything's really snappy, it's vibrant, it's colorful, it's well spaced out, as I mentioned earlier. I'm not a huge specs guy. Does the phone work for me? Yes, it does. And it's snappy and it's quick. I've done some gaming on here. It's been fantastic. I will say, I still think more developers are able to access or have gotten a head start on iOS apps, because if I come in here and I open, let me see, something like Sensama, which is an app that I use every day. I don't know if you can see this, but there's just like kind of blank space up here and at the bottom as well, because it kind of is just formed to fit. Whereas if I open it up on my iPhone, it's just a more full screen experience. And I don't know, it kind of bothers me a little bit, and I kind of wish that apps were fixed here too. And I know that that's probably more on like the developer, like Sunsama, that they need to develop the Android app to fit better. But I think because there's so many different phones running Android, it's hard to create some sort of cookie cutter way that stretches across every single type of device there is. Whereas Apple, every year they come out with what, 4 or 5 phones total. It's a little bit easier to map your software to that screen size. That would be my guess anyway. I'm not a developer, I don't know. This is just something that I've noticed about a lot of Android apps, is they're kind of just like put into the screen instead of like part of the full screen experience. All right, I did mention this in my unboxing and first impressions video as well, but it still kind of bothers me when you take a photo, it takes a hot second to like render in. And I will say, when you open up the camera app, what you see is very, very sharp and kind of unpleasant to look at. And when you take the picture, it kind of mirrors that, and then it kind of adjusts itself over time. There is that beat, it's a little strange. I definitely like the experience more on iPhone, but that said, the photos coming out of this are amazing. I have mentioned in past videos, my wife loves live photos on iPhone, and it's one reason she'll probably never leave iPhone. There's something very similar on the Google camera here, where it will do the same kind of live photo thing, where you can click on an image and it'll show the few seconds before and after the picture was taken. We just love that feature with kids, like not just to see a picture taken of them, but like what they were saying or the sounds they were making, or were they laughing during, and it's just kind of a magical experience, to be honest. So the fact that this has that is fantastic. There's a lot more capability here when it comes to photography. Videography is fine. Like I said, I don't use these devices as like a pro. Like, I'm not using this to film these YouTube videos or to film cinematic vlogs. I'm like taking pictures and videos of my kids. This phone can do that above and beyond. I will say, like, the haptics in here, the biometrics, all of that also has this sort of fluidity to it. I love the fingerprint sensor and the camera unlocking with my face. I love the little animation of the white circle that pops up here when it starts to register your face. Let's try that again. Did you see that little circle that shows the register happen? It unlocks, and then you have that second biometric feedback with the fingerprint reader, which is something iPhone hasn't had. So I don't know, that's been a really fun experience. The haptics, when you push on that fingerprint sensor, is really nice. It's almost like you're like clicking into the display. I've really enjoyed the haptic features on this phone, which is really big for me. And I think it probably is for a lot of people, whether you realize it or not. I think if you use a phone that doesn't have good haptics, you notice it. But I think, again, because we're using this every day, we're constantly tapping on our screens, those haptic feedback inputs, or outputs, I should say, are really important, and they've nailed it on this device. Battery life is another big thing. I end the day around 40%, between 40 and 50% battery. I know it's a new phone, and most new phones have great battery to start with, but like I said, this has been my main device for 90 to 95% of the tasks throughout the day. I literally keep this in my phone to text my wife and family on. So I've been doing everything from watching YouTube videos to doing tasks on here to keeping up with the channel crew and doing communication in that way, emails, checking stats here on YouTube Studio. So I'm putting it through the ringer as much as I would be using the iPhone. I'm ending the day between 40 and 50%, which to me is kind of fantastic. And that said, I think one of the biggest, like, I don't have the Pixel 9. I didn't experience that, so I can't sit here and tell you you should upgrade from the 9 Pro to the 10 Pro or anything like that. But I will say, I think a huge feature is the whole Pixel Snap that they added to the phone. Now we have basically MagSafe, as coined by Apple here, which I think is great. And honestly, I think I would have missed it if it didn't have it. I have so many wireless chargers that use MagSafe. It's been such an easy transition to just throw this phone on there instead of my iPhone. The magnets are super strong. It just charges up fairly quickly. It's great. And Belkin, our friends who love sending us products that we love using, just came out with a Qi 2.2 charger. It sits on my desk, it looks fantastic, and it looks really nice with this phone on it as well. It tops off the battery fairly quickly, and there's actually fans built in to keep the device cool as well, which is super nice. As I mentioned before, I think the display on here is absolutely fantastic. You've got nice, vibrant colors. This is just a random photo I took of green stuff. Here's some colors here. Yeah, I don't know. Especially as like a media consuming device, the fact that you only have that small camera cutout there, you can watch videos full screen. It looks amazing. I love that. Consuming media on here, listening to things. I think the stereo speakers are really nice. They get really loud. Honestly, I can't tell much of a difference between iPhone 16 Pro and Pixel 10 Pro. I can't tell much of a difference when using them. In fact, I kind of mentioned this before, going back to form a little bit. I like the feel in the hand of the Pixel 10 Pro better than the iPhone 16 Pro. And I think consuming media for that same reason, I enjoy that much more as well. I also love, like, when playing games, this is kind of like a little grip, which I think is pretty cool. And I've enjoyed kind of holding the phone like that, which is just one of those, again, little things. But if you're using this phone a lot for watching videos or playing games, that's kind of dope, to be honest. I also, sorry to go back to form again, but I want to mention, like, having only 2 buttons here on the left side has been kind of cool. And honestly, I'm not really lacking anything with that. So the fact that iPhone has 3 on the left side and 2 on the right side, I don't know. I like the more minimal button layout on the Pixel 10 Pro. Another thing I'll say is outside, the peak brightness on this is insane. Like, it doesn't look like the screen is dim at all, even with direct sunlight. But I will say, like, as it's trying to match the sun or the light, it sort of has stops of brightness, which I don't love. I wish it was more of like an easy bright or dim. It kind of like doop 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 doop, and I don't love that, especially when watching a video. Having it like blink in different levels of brightness is a little bit distracting. Right, so I did want to do a quick demo of this 100x camera because it kind of blew me away. All right, so here is where I was standing at my parents' pool the other day. So what I'm trying to take a picture of is this golf cart ball retriever thing. This is a driving range right here. Okay, so that's where I was standing with the 1x zoom, I believe. There's like the 3x zoom, I think. 10x zoom, and that's a dog. That's 100x zoom. And it's crazy to me that I was standing, what, here? And then I was able to take this photo of that ball golf cart returner picker-upper right there. Now, what this does is it takes an image kind of like this blurry, and it uses AI to kind of fill in the blanks there. So you'll see like these white dots are actually just reflections of the sun, but I don't think it really knew how to make sense of that. So they look more like paint splatters. So things like that you start to realize. Here, I'll show you another one. Here was a plane I took a picture of, which like that's not, it is a plane, but like some weird warping going on right there. It's kind of crazy. And then let me see so I was standing here. That, or maybe this is 0.5, I don't know, 1 time, 3 time, 10 time, 100 time. And I think what's crazy is I don't think this bird actually has these weird lumpy feather things going on, but again, AI just kind of picked up on that as what it thought was happening, or maybe it does. Okay. So that's zoomed in with the 10 times, and then here's the 100 times, which is kind of wild. And it almost looks like it gave it like actual feathers, which is kind of interesting. You see all that texture? I'm not entirely sure that that's there either. What I should have done is walked up to it. Here, I'll show you one more. Here's where I was standing, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. Where'd the picture go? I don't like how these aren't in order. It's weird. That's the one. So there's the 100 times that it created from this flower when I was standing here. So anyway, that was kind of a long demo, but it's kind of fun. Like, I don't know if it's very functional to, I don't know, it might be, but almost like I saw movement in bushes really far away, and I used the 100 times to zoom in, take a picture, and saw it was a deer standing there. So like, it's almost like a fun game to see like how far out can this phone pick up on stuff that even my eyeball can't. And so I don't know, I really enjoyed that. I think that's kind of fun to mess around with and play around with. And of course that will only get better as AI improves. So pretty cool feature with the 100 times zoom. So could I fully switch from the iPhone 16 Pro to the Google Pixel 10 Pro? My answer is yes. I think in a lot of ways it's better. Now, this came out last year, this just came out, so it'll be interesting to see the new iPhones and how those feel and do more of a comparison there. But honestly, I would love to rock this daily, but I'm not able to do that because of things I've said in a previous video. I think this is a fantastic phone. If you've never tried a Pixel before and you're an Android user, I would highly recommend you try this out. Or if you're an iPhone user and you're not super tied to iMessage, you can hash it out in the comments. If that's not an issue for you, I would give this a try. I think this has been just a really fun experience. And I didn't even dive into like AI features and all of that cool stuff that they're doing nowadays, which I've played around with a little bit. Having Gemini on board is great. It's fast, it's snappy, it gives great answers, but I don't know, it's just a great experience, and they're gonna continue to improve on that with software. So I think it's definitely worth the money. If you're thinking about buying a new Android device, this would be my pick, honestly. Now, all this said, I'm gonna continue to rock this as my main phone with this in my other pocket. I also picked up an old Apple Watch Ultra Series 1 so that I could actually use this to message my wife and family and kind of keep this in my book bag so that I can just keep this in my pocket and use it for, again, 90 to 95% of the tasks that I do with my smartphone. If you want to pick one up for yourself, feel free to check the link down below or tagged around this video. I think we're able to do that. Thanks so much for watching. On this channel, we talk about tech that marries form and function. We like tech that improves our lives and looks good while doing so. And we will not review tech on this channel that we don't think is worth your time. So if that sounds cool to you, please subscribe, like this video for more, hype it up, watch this video next. I think you're gonna love it. And we'll see you all in the next one.